Uh, I got like an hour and like 20 minutes of sleep, and then I just woke up and I'm like, let's do this.
Oh gosh, I'm in the same boat as you. I've been so busy with courses and everything, but I'm so used to like staying up late and surviving on minimum sleep.
It's
Where are you,
understandable.
if you
And
don't mind me asking? Sorry.
oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, where are you based? I'm just
Provo,
curious.
Utah, currently.
In Utah. Oh, okay. All right. So what's the time there? Is it like in the morning?
9 a.m. So I'm
Oh, okay.
nocturnal, right? So when you're messaging me on LinkedIn, like I'm working, and then I just see your
I
message, and I'm like, oh, all right. And then I'm just like, okay, let's figure out like how to
I
multitask for a second.
I had a feeling that you were nocturnal. I'm also because I saw somewhere that and I thought you were based in like America side. It was like a quite a big time difference. And I'm based in Doha, and I like when I'm up at night, or even during the day, like you permanently on LinkedIn, which is great. So I see your work ethic.
Yeah, I'll actually show you something. Do you mind if I put on my mentor glasses real quickly?
Not at all.
Okay. So when you sent me a message and you were talking about 3D modeling, I was super excited because what a lot of people don't know about me is I'm actually like a traditionally trained graphic designer. And so
Oh,
I was actually designing, and I'll show you these messages on LinkedIn. So I'm just sending you these photos. So like there's the backpack I have, and inside that backpack, I've got all of these different design books. And like you can see, like I'm pretty serious about this stuff. And then I show you like my drawing tablet as well. And so like I got really into design when I was 16 years old. And I'll show you like the computer I have as well, like this Pro Art computer. Like my setup is kind of in there. You can see the shining lights. And so like I'm serious about this stuff. And I was super excited when you sent me a message because there's so few people who are artists and they pursue their passion in the gaming industry. And so like me speaking with you is like a dream come true for me because I started designing not so much on like the 3D modeling side, even though I do have like 3D modeling courses and I do that on my iPad. I'll show you that stuff later in the year. But I do like designing for businesses now, like people's lifestyles. And so like when the CEOs come and they want my mentoring, I'm like, okay, how do we design your lifestyle? How do we design, the business you want to create? And that's what I've been really focused on lately.
that is absolutely incredible. I had a feeling that you were like had a very vast knowledge and everything, especially with your feedback on composition and everything. It's really cool that you do like graphic designing and everything, especially for companies. You should follow my husband on LinkedIn. He works for Qatar Airways for the executives. You never know, maybe they like one of them need a mentor for something as well. Maybe there's something you could do there. It's a very big company to work for.
Yeah, I was curious because the messages you sent me about your passion and talent, I was like, wow, this is something which, that there's so many people who, as I sent in your recommendation, there's so many people who they're only in gaming for like one reason or maybe a season, right? But like to create a lifetime of work, like your portfolio with aviation and your legacy, right, with architecture. I was like, dude, if this is something you can translate to the gaming industry, like the right vernacular is vertical coherence. So like the right moves that you're making to position yourself as not only an authority but an artist who's really in demand, it's just going to be incredible.
Yeah, I must say I'm really, really excited about this. Like pursuing a game in 3D like a career in 3D modeling in the gaming industry. I find that when I did like architecture, I wasn't really fulfilled at some points. I was like, it's kind of repetitive because you don't have a lot of freedom with design. I went into teaching and that wasn't utilizing my creativity skills at all. So I started taking on extra challenges and everything, and I got promoted eventually. But like developing curriculums and documentations, and I think it was very beneficial because it helped me like I have a very good eye for detail because of that, and like structure and format and keeping the same like artistic style throughout, like documentation and everything. But I spoke to a friend today, actually like a previous colleague of mine, and she said to me that, and I know because I can see it in myself as well, this decision to change into like, pursuing a career that I actually am so passionate about. I don't think I've ever like been so happy and like excited. She said that she can see in the way that I'm speaking to her and everything, compared to when I was working at like in the aviation industry. It's like a completely different person, which is so, so nice. I feel so much better about everything. I'm so positive.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you. I want to just give you the greatest props for your work ethic because I see you not only animating and you learned animation just recently, and I was like, wow, this is something which the demand for your ability. I don't quite understand or even know if most artists and designers do they know how important it is to have people who can do animation and like 3D modeling in the gaming industry. Like my entire career in esports, it only exists because back when I was 16, I was creating my first company, which failed, called Chaotic Convergence Gaming. I was hiring a bunch of designers and we were doing like graphics for live streamers on Twitch. And I figured at that time, that was cool and we could get paid, but I didn't know how to grow that business. I didn't know how to scale it. And the drama of being a high schooler and like operating a business and like my family not understanding how important gaming and esports was to me at the time. Long story short, it just didn't work out for me. And so I realized my kind of passion for design and being an artist, I had to translate that focus. And for you to focus on gaming, it's something where I want more artists to do that. I want them to focus on what they actually enjoy rather than just like doing something because it's a job and they have to do it because they get paid.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I really do. I know that previously with like previous jobs, I haven't really had the excitement, that I have now. This I'm so excited about this that the other night I've been dreaming about like my that animation that I created with the plane and everything. And I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I only went to bed at 12:30, and at 3 o'clock in the morning I was up and I was like, I'm gonna finish my animation. I have a problem. But it's just I'm so like passionate about it and excited about it that I was up at 4 and I've been working on it, and like I can go for hours. It's just people don't. I think that it's not often that you like realize your passion like this. Um, you fully utilize it, like you said. People don't really like recognize these their talents and their passions and everything. And for me to recognize it now, like oh, sorry, I'm like very excited, and I also just finished with my website, like uploading everything, and there's a few little tweaks, but I'm gonna launch it tomorrow. I haven't launched it yet. Tomorrow I'm launching it, so I'm very excited. So my mind is like, yeah.
Awesome. Before we kind of begin the interview, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns for me that you just want to ask?
I don't have any concerns. So you've been absolutely like impeccable, honestly. I've had one of the best mentors like that anybody could ever ask for, and I never thought I would find someone like it again. And I was so sad when I left my previous job because I was moving away from her. And I met you, and I actually was on the phone with her early on, and I said, so I was like, I've met the male version of you, like, so I have no complaints. I'm like over the moon with how excited I am with all of the help that you're given everything. At first, I'm so sorry. At first, I was a bit skeptical because I was like, people don't really, people don't take their job seriously and they don't put everything into it. And I've noticed that like in previous like places that I've worked and stuff. So to come across someone with your work ethic and everything, it lines up with mine. Like no complaining at all. No complaining. I'm very
I'm
happy.
very, I'm very appreciative of that because a lot of people, like, they don't know I'm an artist, right? They don't know I have all those books in a backpack sitting in my room and I just read that on my own time. And a lot of people, like, when I'm working at night and it's quiet and I'll just think about designing something, a lot of people, like, they don't get to see that side of my personality. They just see, like, the business stuff and I'm, like, raising funding for these startup companies. And, like, I don't really care too much about that. It's just, like, for work. This is, like, my passion. I go home and I think about art. I think about what can I create with my friends, and a lot of my friends have been underpaid artists working in the gaming industry before, similar to me. And I was just thinking, I need to do something where I'm not just the businessman. I need to be more than that to people, because a lot of characters, they'll see my story and they'll like watch interviews or something of me on YouTube, and they'll be like, wow, this guy, he made it, he's successful in business. And I'm like, that's not even important. Anybody can do that. What's actually important is, can you translate the creativity, right? Can you take what's in your mind and then go draw something and then like communicate that vision with someone else, and they can appreciate that, right? They can take the art, right? The animations you create, for example, and then they can run with it, right? They can be inspired. That's something where if I had known how to do that when I was 16, and I could sell my vision and I could show other artists like, hey, you can do the business side of things and you can be super passionate and also get paid well for what you create and what you want to do, instead of just something that you need to do.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I can definitely see like your knowledge and your passion come through in that recommendation that you wrote for me. You're like reading that is art on its own. My sorry, I'll come back to her again, but my previous mentor wrote a recommendation for me. I'm not an emotional person that literally had me in tears. Um, like it is the first time I've cried after reading something, and reading your recommendation as well. I felt so inspired and motivated, and it was beautiful. And I was also like, I literally teared up. And I read it to her, and she's like a got her doctorate in English, and she's very like her knowledge of the English language is incredible. And she said, "You're an artist with your words as well." It was amazing.
I'm very thankful to hear that. Tell her I said thank you.
I will.
So my first question, Carmen, is why are you here? What is it that you want the world to know about you? Just explain your story.
Okay, so um, where to begin? Let me start off with why 3D modeling and why the gaming industry, and then we can take it from there. If that's fine. Sorry. Mm. So, um, and when I was 15, 13, sorry, 13 was grade 8. When I was 13, I played my first PlayStation game, which was Call of Duty, and was very proud of myself. I finished it on Veteran Modern Warfare 2. And I've been hooked on PlayStation since I finished that game. I've been a gamer like, for as long as I can remember. And because of that, I've always been like super interested in the gaming industry. Then with architecture, actually a friend of mine, her uncle is an architect, and the following year went into his studio and realized that like this looks cool. This is what I want to do, like designing, modeling buildings and everything. And I would have loved to have done it in the gaming industry, but like I mentioned to you on LinkedIn, I come from South Africa, which isn't really the best country to go to, like to look for gaming jobs. I didn't realize about working online and remotely and everything. I mean, I was 14 at the time. I didn't know the opportunities that were out there. I went into architecture and thoroughly enjoyed it. I worked at I had the most amazing opportunity of working at this really, really great firm. And it, like, because of me not realizing about the gaming industry that it was a possibility, I kind of, went focused like very much on that. And I've got like the most incredible buildings from award-winning developers that we've worked for. We work for four of the top like residential developers in the whole of like in South Africa. Um, and then I realized I wanted to travel and get out of South Africa. So I was like, okay, let's go into teaching. I can teach. It's very easy to get jobs internationally. Went into teaching and everything, and like, I wasn't getting all that creative energy out, which is why I did all those extra tasks of like, and way, way, way above my pay grade. And then after like a lot of reflection and everything, I was just thinking about what makes me happy. Like doing that, I wasn't getting those creative juices out, I wasn't using my creativity, and it was frustrating me. And that's why I was taking on all this extra work. And then I realized that I need to do something that's with that. So I started to like putting together all my architectural projects because I know that's what makes me happy is buildings. and modeling. And when I put together everything, I did a graphic design course for the certificate. I already knew how to use the programs, but I wanted the certificate and to like brush up. And I put together a portfolio of the projects that I've done and looking, when you do projects one at a time, and they're massive, like residential developments, like 600 units, incredibly large. When you do it one at a time, you feel really proud. But when you step back and you look at all of those projects together, when I was done with that portfolio, I was like, this is what I need to do. I had so much fun with it and gave a lot of thought to it and realized I need to, like, went back to my roots kind of and kind of rekindled that where I want to be, which is in the gaming industry. And I'm really, really good at modeling buildings. I'm very creative. Like I have an eye for detail and it's my happy place. It makes me so happy. And then I realized that I need to pursue a career as a 3D modeler in the gaming industry. So yeah, that is what I'm busy with now. So don't my last working day at my previous company was I think 2 weeks ago now, and I've been busy with the courses for about a month, going full steam ahead. And yeah, I'm just trying to get my name out there and be recognized to try and get a job at one of the leading companies like Esports, which I've who has a gaming development department, or Activision or EA Sports. I'm striving to work for a company that is very well known, a very big company, not a smaller company. That is what I'm aiming for. And I do think that I'll be able to do it eventually. I just need to keep working at it. Did that answer your question? Did I deviate? I tend to explain a lot. Lots of details like in my work.
It was a great response. Thank you. You mentioned a few things which I want to highlight for any artists that may be listening to this later. Your frustration. I remember in our DMs on LinkedIn, you mentioned uh, you listed out your accreditations, right? The accomplishments you have, and I was like, that's awesome. However, you also mentioned the added work you were doing with your previous job opportunity, and I was thinking, wow, that work ethic, it takes a very special kind of frustration to propel a human being to do added work at a job. And I was wondering, what advice would you give any artist that may have been in a similar position to you previously? What advice would you give them if they're feeling frustrated?
Frustration, like in terms of work, like work ethic, or in terms of changing careers?
Both, because I remember you mentioning the added work you were doing with your previous job opportunity, but then also with switching careers to focus on your passion, I was very curious.
So, okay, advice that I would give, let's start off with frustration and work ethic. And then the second point I'll go on to is changing careers. So, work ethic, I'm, mm, I just also need to like think about this because I know my work ethic is a bit, I'm a bit of a workaholic because I enjoy doing, work and everything. But the advice I would give them with that is make a checklist, work according to a checklist, prioritize. Um, I speak to line managers, get feedback from them. Like it helps with your creative thinking, problem solving skills, and it also helps for professional growth. So I would like if you're like wanting to go further in the industry that you're currently in, one of the things that I did was I spoke to my line manager and I got the roles and responsibilities, the duties of the like of the job description for the position above me, and I started tackling all of the tasks on there, the stuff that I didn't have experience with, just one at a time and everything, and that helped me, like gain skills. And yes, it is extra effort and it is extra work and you don't get paid for it. And half the time you don't get recognized for it either. But it's not about being recognized. It's not about people knowing, as long as your line managers know what you're doing. It's not everybody in the company needs to know. It's at the end of the day, you're doing it for yourself. You don't need to be recognized for every little thing that you do. You gain so much knowledge and so many skills from it. Yeah, so that's my advice for them. Keep pushing, like put in those extra hours. Definitely put in those extra hours. Everyone always says like bare minimum. I do not agree with that at all. Like if you are happy with where you are in your life, exactly how things are going, then, that's fine. But if you want change and you want more, then you want to be promoted, you have to put in those extra hours. You have to put in more effort than your colleagues are putting in, like just putting in an extra hour or a little bit of like doing one small task. I'm not saying, go do everything on the checklist, but the little tasks put you ahead of everybody else that's also trying to get into that position that you got. It's a competition. And always compete with yourself. I'm a firm believer of competing with yourself, not with other people. Always try and be a better version of you. Yeah, that answers that question. Can I go on to the second one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, second point is changing careers. I 100% would advise it and recommend it. If you're thinking of changing careers, then you're clearly not happy with the career that you're in now. And life is really short, so you should be pursuing something that makes you happy. And like if you like how they say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Um, yes, it's scary. I get scared like quite often. Am I going to be successful in this? And there's obviously like worries on my mind and everything. It's changing careers, it's very competitive. Like there's people out there that have got a lot more experience than me that are also trying to get into the same position that I am. And the best way to put yourself ahead is to try and catch up. And when you do like your courses and everything, go the extra mile. That's what I do is like a blend of the course that I'm busy with now. I go the extra mile and I practice my skills and try and like, further it as much as possible. I think that when you make the decision like me, you would be very happy with it. I'm extremely happy with it. And I hope that my story of, changing it and taking this leap is inspirational to anybody that is watching. I actually got some feedback today from a colleague of mine that has a student that wants to change careers. And it was about like literally, it was so weird, about an hour and 45 minutes ago now. She told me about how she spoke to him about my story and how at the end of the call, he felt so much better about his career change and how she felt inspired and he felt inspired. And that makes me happy. I love inspiring people yeah. So
Awesome response. Thank you. For people who are listening, Carmen has a very particular set of skills where it's not just her character and her competency and her competitiveness. She mentioned competing with yourself, not with other human beings, which is something that's very important for mastery. A lot of people who don't know, for example, as an artist, you might be competing with another studio, another uh, indie game developer, and that's something where it can be very stressful at times. But once you achieve a certain level of, I really would call it self-actualization and then mastery to go along with it, you have to realize that competing with yourself is the ultimate end objective where you can experience all the creativity you would want, and you wouldn't be necessarily boxed in by any ideologies from humanity competing with another human being or a corporation. That's something where it's very important for an artist to reach that point if they want to achieve a greater legacy as you're building, Carmen, with your extensive experience and also the great accolades that you have.
thank you. While you were busy speaking, I should have actually made notes because my brain goes ahead of things. But something that I've told my previous students and everything, and speaking about, competing with yourself, and it worked with them, and they would tell me the same thing, like it's stuck in their heads now. But compete with yourself and you aim for 1% better, 1% better each time, every day you aim for 1% better. You don't look at, yes, you look at the end goal, but you break it down into little steps. Like this is my latest project, which I'm very, very proud of. And it's not where I wanted to be, but it's a lot further ahead than where I was a week ago. I want to create like with new programs that I'm learning, but photorealistic animations and everything. And I will get there. But if I look at it like that and look at my work and say it's not there yet, don't feel proud of it, then you're just going to demotivate yourself. Whereas 1% better. So my next project, 1% better, so definitely compete with yourself, not with everybody else. Yeah. And then, now you see, I forgot what the second point was. Oh, yes, that's what it was. Sorry. With regards to, being like, my mind kind of went to being worried about failure, not being worried that you won't excel, you won't be able to do it, it's impossible for you. Something that I've learned, and I think it's also what's put me in this position to be able to have the confidence to go like change careers and everything. Back when I was in South Africa, I've said to you that I didn't think that going into gaming was a possibility. And when I changed from architecture to teaching, like it was changing careers, like to be able to travel and everything. And I thought that was impossible. I don't know anybody that was like is able to leave South Africa and actually do this. And by me doing that and being able to move out of the country and like being successful in that, it's made me realize. And I try and motivate my friends in that like this as well, that you are capable of doing anything. You can't say like don't ever think to yourself that you can't do it. Anything is possible. Just the minute you try, like, you're putting yourself in a better position of accomplishing it than anybody else. You just have to try, take the first step. And because of all of this is why I feel very confident in the fact that I do think that I'll be able to pursue a career in gaming in a big industry, and it is possible. Because I'm trying, I'm working at it. It's just continuous working at it.
Thank you for your response. My next question is, what is one mistake as an artist which has been difficult for you to overcome recently that you think other artists who are, inspired by your story or aspiring to change careers would benefit from learning?
Problem with have been designing and doing my Blender course for a month now, and only full time for like I think it's just over a week actually. Um, I suppose that learning like new programs and everything is a lot of information that comes up. And this was your question, right? Sorry, I'm just about
Yeah, this is
like
my
yeah,
question.
okay, okay, okay. Um, learning Blender, for example, you don't get to really use your creativity because you're following along with the course and everything and doing like what they doing. You're learning as you go and everything. And you get a lot of information and you can't apply that information because it's a course. They're not going to on each project teach you what you learned in the first part of the course. You need to apply that to the new project. So one of the things that I was struggling with at the end of like the beginning of the second section of my course was applying the knowledge from the previous section that I did into that one, like all the shortcuts and like the things that I've learned and stuff because I don't revise it. So what I did and what I would recommend for anybody that's finding this as a challenge is to finish the first section. And then when you've completed whatever the task is that they've given you, go the extra mile, redo it or amend it, improve it, and then go on to the next project, do the next project, and then you go back and you add again. Like this background image of mine at the moment that I'm showing you, this part of the course was, I really got the extra mile, but it's exciting and it's fun. This project was a cube. It was different cubes where they took pictures off of the internet and pasted it onto the cube, and then you modeled the plane and you animated the plane. That was it. These are not cubes, as you can see. So when I was finished with the course, I went back again, back again, and I used the skills from the previous sections and my architectural experience as well as being a huge benefit, and my graphic design course as well. So instead of looking for textures on the internet, also I struggled to find that because you've got to pay for that. Photoshop, YouTube for textures, so much easier, so much less time consuming than trying to find textures. But all of these textures are created in Photoshop. And just to brush up on the skills, and also it's like I have a library of resources at the moment. I've also modeled all of these buildings also from a cube. So instead of just using the cube, I've gone and modeled it and designed like a whole landscape and everything. I've actually just recently added some paths and benches and trees so I can add my character into it in the next section of the course. So yeah, that's what I would say. Go back, redo, improve, aim for 1% better.
Awesome response. Thank you. Another question I'm thinking of is, earlier you mentioned being skeptical. What was it that was so difficult for the situation? Oh, looks like we have 10 minutes left. So this question will be very specific to your skepticism. What is it about being an artist and kind of pursuing new opportunities, which can lead to the skepticism that can kind of help other artists learn how to overcome skepticism.
When you take a step back and you look at what's being created in the industry, and LinkedIn has like opened up my mind, when you see the competition that's out there and you realize what you're up against, it's, you might have some doubts, and you might feel a bit skeptic about if you're going to be able to, accomplish what you've intended, that you've set out to accomplish. But a way to overcome this, like the way that I've been trying to overcome it, is again challenging myself, looking at what's out there, looking at what's being created and everything, trying to get experience in as much as I can, putting as much effort into it as possible, doing the best that you can do, up until a certain point. Like that, my buildings at the moment, there's still so many things I'm like, oh, I want to improve on it, but I need to move on to the next section of the course, and it's stuff that I already know. Can always go back to it and everything, but yeah, I would say look at what's out there to see what you need to, like, the quality of work that you need to reach, like what you need to be able to produce. But don't look at it and say, oh, my work doesn't look like that, because then you do feel skeptical about it and you start doubting yourself. Look at it and say, that is my end goal. What can I do? What do I know now that will get me towards that, towards that kind of end product? Which is what I've been doing. Like I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Look at the textures that they've got, and then play around with textures, and 1% better. This started with one building, and every time I added something, I'm like, 1% better, 1% better, trees, benches, roads. But it's got to stop now. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that response. I'm curious again. There was something you mentioned on LinkedIn, which it got me thinking when I was working around like 4 a.m. the last few days. You mentioned the fact that when you were focusing on your passion, your talent, this is something where you were more confident, and you didn't exactly use those words. I can't quote you on it, but I can see in just the way you were writing and also in your work, the confidence is different versus all the past accolades and achievements that you have with architecture and aviation. The things which you were speaking of, I could tell you were so passionate, and the confidence was different. It was coming from a place of it was not just inspiration, but it was also the innate work ethic that you have. Again, as you mentioned, being a workaholic. I'm a workaholic as well. As you can tell, I'm always on LinkedIn and I'm always just awake, usually just working. And so the thing I want other artists to understand, and this question leading into is, what is it about being a workaholic that has actually been beneficial to you versus the kind of, it would be a stigma that artists might be overworked and underpaid. What is it that being a workaholic has done to benefit you?
So being a workaholic has got some setbacks. You're a workaholic, you need to also have a bit of a social life. So I'm trying to balance that a little bit more and everything. But I think that being a workaholic can be extremely beneficial. And for me, at the end of the day, like I don't go the extra mile because, oh, I'm going to get rewarded, financially for it. I go the extra mile because I have a certain quality that I produce, and I refuse to produce lower than that, which is why I'm a bit of a workaholic and a perfectionist. Like, I won't put something out there and put my name on it until I'm proud. Being a workaholic gives you more time in the day, to be able to fulfill everything that you've set out to do. It like gives you more time to improve on yourself, to learn more things, and to like keep your quality of work, the same and everything. From being a workaholic, I can say that everything that I've produced at the end has been, I feel extremely proud of it, and it inspires me and it motivates me. And I always because of this, because of working the extra hours and everything, when I'm done with the project, this was in architecture and aviation, and now as well, the end result is so worth it, and that end result is addictive. And like, yeah, I feel like I'm a bit I don't really say worse, but I'm a bit more of a workaholic now that I'm pursuing something I'm super passionate about. Um, for me, like the way that I explain it is when I'm doing 3D modeling, like think about your favorite thing to do in the whole world. Like let's say you're a gamer and you love playing PlayStation and chilling on the couch. This is me chilling on the couch and playing PlayStation. Like it's like me sitting and playing games all day. Yeah, so yeah, I want to create a masterpiece, and being a workaholic gives me the time for that. I also have a lot of interests and I like to challenge myself.
Awesome. Thank you for that response, Carmen. For any artists listening, my experience being a workaholic, I credit it to narcissism. And it's not the bad kind of narcissism, it's achievement-based narcissism, which means all of the work that you're producing, all that creativity is going towards something which you can be proud of, as Carmen mentioned. And this is important because as an artist, you might not feel proud of your work all the time. You might see the first draft and you might see maybe even a blank canvas, and you might have art block for a day or a week or a month, and you might not know what to create. And so this narcissism, this achievement-based narcissism is important for your career. It's important for you to develop because you realize it might not be perfect on day one. And even though we might be perfectionists to the end goal, right now in the present, right, just progress over perfection is super important. And not understanding that, it's going to take time. It's going to take a certain amount of actions to achieve that end goal.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. I think, sorry, one of the things that I also just wanted to add in with that is it would be really cool if anyone that's watching could follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram. It's forresterdesigns.com. Oh, no, sorry, C Forrester Designs. I was busy thinking my website. On there, I like upload on my Instagram a lot of like the processes that I follow, and you can see, how it starts off and everything. And it takes a while to get to the end result, same as on LinkedIn. And tomorrow, I'm very, very excited. I'm launching my website. I've been doing coding because I need a website and I don't want to pay somebody to do it because they're not going to do it the way I want to do it. And I feel more like inspired and motivated and more in control when I'm doing it myself, and I have complete control over the design process. So I've been doing a coding course and everything. I've just finished with maybe like 30% of it. And being a perfectionist, there's a time where you have to stop. Like at the moment, there's things I was looking at it before I was speaking to you, and there's things that I want to add, things like changes that I want to make. But if I keep thinking like it, I'm never going to upload it and launch it, and it's there, it's ready, and I can work on these little things. So being a perfectionist is good, up until a certain point. You also need to realize that, okay, it's fine for now, and then step back. But my point is when I do launch it, I've been taking screenshots of the process of how it started out as a blank canvas, and then like with the codes, how, it's just the writing, and as it's until it's become what it is now. And I will share that on Instagram as well, because I think that seeing that process will also, I love seeing stuff like that. It will make you realize that little steps and you are capable of doing it. You just got to keep working at it, little steps. Yeah.
All right, Carmen, thank you so much for your time. I'm very proud of you, and I want everyone to know that Carmen is an incredible artist and also a teacher to me as well. I do actually take notes when I'm speaking with you. I try to think about the process that you're going through as an artist, and I try to incorporate the things that I'm learning from you. And so I want to take you to a place of gratitude from me. And I want to thank you for all the effort you have, Carmen. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time and all of your help as well. I will be messaging on LinkedIn some more, but and it's been really, really great. Yeah, I'm really, really appreciative, and I've learned so much. Like it's so far. I haven't even known you that long. It's been an incredible learning journey. I'm forever grateful. So thank you. And thank you for everyone for watching and taking the time. And hopefully, if anyone from Activision or Esports, or EA Sports can hit me up on LinkedIn to watch me develop until I'm ready to apply for a job at one of those leading companies. Esports.
All right, Carmen. I will speak with you soon. Take care.